What is good, YouTube? First try. You already know. It's your boy DRXCO. I'm back with another effing overnight stalking video. Hope everybody's doing good. Feel me? And today's topic is gonna be about where I think this world is going to go in the next couple of years, as well as like technology and money. I might delve into crypto again because I really do like that topic, and maybe some metaverse stuff. I know y'all like the last video of me talking, so I'm gonna do another one. All right, so first of all, in terms of like the idea of where the world's going, especially when it relates to technology, it's very hard to say. Because on one hand, I kind of believe we are starting to get into a very AI-driven and focused world where everything is automated by AI. People are already saying AI is replacing jobs, which has to be true. From my experience using AI and like ChatGPT, I definitely believe that AI is starting to become a lot more useful in today's landscape. Things in terms of the art sector and, you know, handyman work, I don't think will ever be replaced. But you know, tech jobs and jobs in which there's managers that do certain things, you know, those jobs might be in jeopardy because of how easy it is for AI to automate a business and essentially meet whatever ends that business needs to meet. The reason I say this is because I am an avid user of AI. Just to be transparent with you guys, if you really pay attention to the channel, you might see it in the titles and in the description, but I do use ChatGPT to give me the hashtags, help me with the channel name as well as the description, because, you know, as someone that wants to grow and scale their channel, I need to know what is good for, you know, how I should be wording, phrasing my videos. You know, I do want the channel to do good and get bigger, and I want to create a bigger community. So to do that, I kind of have to know about SEO and know about hashtags and what to say in your videos and how to choose the best titles and descriptions. So, you know, that's just my experience. But, you know, on YouTube there's a sort of authenticity problem when it comes to AI. Now their entire channels run just off of AI voices and AI tutorials about how to do this, AI sports, you know, highlights and whatnot. So now artificial intelligence isn't being used to sort of create easier ways for humans to do things, but now we're starting to get into a sort of monetary aspect of AI that is used solely to sort of farm YouTube views and make money. And again, I understand the sort of world that we're in which, you know, opportunities and jobs and life is hard in general, but what happens when companies start to say, yo, like, instead of having Drake or Kanye on stage, we could just like make this, we could consult a tech company or people who are really, you know, invested and knowledgeable in AI automation and how to create sort of AI characters, and they use that to sort of make a star, essentially a modern day pop star. Like, let's say you could make a modern day Drake or a modern day Chris Brown with AI, have it study all of the, you know, all of the ways in which that human being would create their music and do their dance moves. And instead of having organic sort of flesh and body real human beings doing certain things like music production and creating content, whether that's through art, music, dance, why not just get a AI to sort of do these things and go on from there. Just print money. Like, imagine we found out tomorrow that Chris Brown was never real. He was just like an AI. Like, that'd be crazy, right? So it's like, now we're starting to get into the, well, if we're using it for this, it has to be able to be used for that. And those sort of conversations on how to get things done and how to just go farther with these ideas and these use cases is very dangerous, because then we start to lose the authenticity of certain aspects of life. So AI is extremely useful, but a lot of people are accelerating the use of AI and starting to use it for less, you know, organic things. Again, everybody's going to take opportunities. Humans are always going to try to get ahead of things. And I'm going to be serious. If I, you know, found out back then that I can make an entire YouTube channel in which the AI did all the research and then did all the stuff for YouTube, and I made $5,000 a month, I don't necessarily believe that I would just say no just because of the authenticity of it, you know? Everybody wants a better life. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. But I do still like to think of it as something that will actively not make the world a better place, because now everything is just inorganic. And, you know, we don't even have to get into the conversation of bots and the negative usage of just fake profiles on social media. And that's actually like a perfect segue to go into something I actually kind of predetermined that I was going to make this video sort of based around, which is just social media and technology, kind of, but more so on the social media side. Because I've always understood how social media works. I always understood that we like social media and we use it a lot in our daily lives. It kind of, like, our lives kind of revolve around social media now, or the use of our phones, I should say. You know, you clock into work, check your schedule on your phone, check your heart rate on your phone, and on Apple Health, which are your watch and whatnot. Like, there's a lot of use cases for social media and technology, but one of the biggest ones, which is the most obvious, is communication, and also now like the sharing and creation of content. It's something I came to the conclusion of nowadays, and it's so crazy because all of this ties together, is that a lot of social media isn't really, you know, sort of real. Chicken Florentine tuna. I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, it says 17, I'm wilding. So that means, okay. All right. So a lot of social media, I got a little distracted. A lot of social media isn't really social media now. Like, it's really just clip farming and making videos that kind of spark controversy and spark a whole bunch of people that should be doing other things with their lives to have arguments online. That's why politics is always so big on social media. Social media has become a vehicle for politics to sort of thrive and flourish. Social media kind of basically won Trump this previous election. So we're seeing now social media is not simply maintain this idea of being just a tool to use to talk to people and communicate with other people. You know, it used to be this marvelous gift that people all around the world could just be sitting at opposite ends of the earth and talk to people. Now it's being something that's used to, again, clip farm and sway emotions, make money, make people feel a certain type of way, sort of sway the overall sentiment of certain races of people, certain beliefs in certain things. So social media now is becoming very involved with the emotional state of a lot of people, and I don't like that. You know, there'll be times I'll go into a Facebook comment section and a person says something just blatantly prejudiced or racist, and it's like, do I get mad at this, or do I just simply chalk it up to the idea that social media is just a whole bunch of people that love the idea that they can say something without any sort of consequence? Like, is social media really real? Is it really, because two worlds exist. The obvious answer to that is no and yes. It's a very complicated question, because two worlds exist within this world. There's, of course, the world that me and you live in. No phones, no sort of followers, likes. And then there's the world that encompasses social media. There's two different worlds. The techno world, or the digital world, in which online profiles, video game ranks like Diamond and Radiant on Valorant exist, in which you can show your prowess in a certain skill. And then there's the real world. So you have to understand that there's both the social media world and then the real world. And those are the two worlds that exist in this day and age. And as you grow older, as I'm growing older, it's becoming increasingly apparent that those two worlds are starting to intertwine in ways that's, because in the real world, someone does something to you, you get emotional, right? Someone hits you, or someone says something mean to you, you get emotional. But now we have it so that people's entire mindsets, belief systems, and actions depend on social media. And that's where like the line starts to become blurred in terms of what's real. Is John Johnson, that has a profile that's been around for 2 years now, commenting something mean on my post, real, or is he just a computer generated code or bot that's made to say things in certain comments? And you can pay for these things. You can pay for sort of mass fake Facebook profiles being created. And this goes obviously deep into a lot of conspiracy theories and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure people know how to do things like this, especially if you are in the technology sector and know about AI. Recently, it's been increasingly apparent that it is possible to make people do things and say certain things with just the use of AI. Like, people could turn a photo into an entire video and make you say something, or make somebody else say something that's completely untrue. So that has obvious, disastrous, to say it quite, just to say it as an understatement, that has quite disastrous implications on, different things happening between countries and, factions within the world, and not a lot of stuff that I would like to think about on a daily basis, because that gets very depressing and very, you get very anxious thinking about those things. But we do have to be aware of these things, because these things are happening. And if you're gonna come on this channel and watch me do something as boring as overnight stocking, I want to be at least providing some sort of value. So every time you click off, you're like, wow, I never thought about something like that. And that's the point. Because this world likes when you're sort of not thinking and you're just doing. It likes the idea that they're able to control Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and make it so you're watching pointless videos of cats and people making cake and, celebrity drama, and not worrying about, oh shit, like AI came out 2 years ago, hee hee ha ha, we could use ChatGPT to make us a baking recipe, but oh, now like someone could take a video of me and make it so like I'm saying something that's wrong and send it to my job and I get fired. Like, these things are very possible, and we should be on the lookout for things that are obviously wrong. Now, there are two sort of what is the word that they, or the phrase that they say, red linings or whatever. Like, there are two sort of things that give me hope about the future, and that's just that people aren't, as much as we, especially me, you know, me being a nihilist of some sort to a certain extent, you know, people aren't all that stupid. Because anytime I would go into a video and see an obvious, or maybe sometimes not so obvious AI video that is on my Reels page on Facebook and Instagram, a lot of people just right away, with the snap of a finger, are able to tell if a video is AI generated or not. And that's very, like, that's very good, you know, because if we live in a society in which everybody's stupid and we're not able to discern from what's AI and what's not, then that is obviously, again, very disastrous for this current world and how things might pan out in the future. But since people are kind of smart and understand that these videos are just fake clip farming videos, then, you know, I obviously feel a little bit better about our current state. And now we're gonna get to the part that's not so positive outlookish, and that's the fact that with AI being able to do so much, AI is eventually going to get to a point where it can teach itself, which is, I'm pretty sure, is something that is already happening. AI technology and AI's capabilities will only progress, because that's essentially what human life is: progressing technologies, making things more advanced and more sophisticated. And, you know, again, obvious disastrous implications. I'm just gonna make a video called Disastrous Implications and just sit there and talk for 12 hours on end about sort of things that are happening right now that have disastrous implications. But yeah, all jokes aside, you know, AI will eventually get super smart, and, you know, if you're anything in the media, you already know about cyberpunk films and dystopian thriller novels and videos and movies that talk about this sort of exact outlook on life, in which the future is gonna be a whole bunch of AI running the show. AI, you know, doctors, AI artists, AI villains, AI, you know, dictators. And it gets very scary thinking about these things, obviously, because, you know, when it comes to this world, I never hold out any sort of, like, nah, that would never happen. You know, I always believe there's a chance, to a certain extent, that certain things can happen, other than, like, you know, the obvious sort of fantastical things like Superman just coming out of the sky. And even that isn't that much, you know, too far-fetched. Especially as we continue to advance as a civilization, we're gonna find out more things about ourselves. We're gonna find more things out about the universe. And eventually I feel like we'll have flying people. Jetpacks is probably in, like, another, like, if I'm being generous, or, like, if I'm being super hopeful, probably like another millennia, 100 years. I would hope. Like, all of these things aren't too far-fetched. What I'm trying to say with a lot of these things is they're not too far-fetched. Don't ever think that we won't have aliens coming out of the sky. You know, of course, these are movies and all these things, but don't ever sort of be a non-believer about certain things when, you know, they're not too far-fetched. There are obvious ideas that are very out of bounds when it comes to what can currently be in existence, but people even theorize about us being in a simulation. And of course, I could talk about that. Do I wanna like ruin my mental right now, or your mental, about that? And while I'm at work, not really. I could talk about that. If you guys want me to talk about simulation theory and all of that stuff, you know, I could get really deep into that. That's gonna get real spiritual real fast. It's gonna get real depressing real fast, probably. But all I could say is, I'm a person that grew up Christian, and I'm a person that grew up overall thinking whatever about the world, like, you know, I do this, I do that. It's just life. But now seeing how the world kind of is structured, I'm not putting anything past this world in terms of what's possible. And the final thing I'm gonna leave off on that topic of simulation theory, at least, is people worry about being in a simulation and death and all these things, but I think the idea that we're here in the first place is more scarier than whether we're in a simulation or not. Because again, it goes back to the idea of controlling what you can control and not being necessarily sad and mad about the things that you can't. No matter what, we're all gonna pass at one point, and we're all going to have to deal with that. And even then, when we pass, we won't even know if that's really the true nature of reality. What if the simulation is sort of the gift of reality? And the way I kind of describe that is sort of convoluted and doesn't really make any sense. But to leave you off before I sort of get into like word salad here is, what if the simulation that we are theoretically living in is the most truest form of reality that we have to go off of? What if the fact that we're in a simulation is reality itself? Unless you think about that, you leave any comments on whether or not you want me to go deep into that. It is something that I have kind of researched only through videos and through thought experiments, and overall just being interested in quantum theory and, you know, quantum position and whatnot. I didn't go to school for this, but I feel like if you think about something and you theorize things on your own, good, like a decent amount, then you could kind of come up with some things that kind of make sense on your own without having to sort of go through the process of going to school to learn certain things. But yeah, I'm not putting anything past this world. Anything could happen at any time. Always be prepared to handle what's next, because we've seen it happen in 2020 when they essentially told millions, probably billions of people that they had to wear this mask around their face for the foreseeable future. And, you know, there are people still wearing masks today, which is honestly not even that bad of a thing, or that sort of unplausible of a thing to do. But it kind of just goes to show, like, first, that the government could basically do whatever it wants in terms of, you know, telling people that they have to do something, whether it's against their will and for their own good or not. Like, we are ultimately, I don't know what endably means. We are ultimately at the behest and the will at the government in terms of what they can get us to do. And yeah, that entire thing was probably the lowest point of my life. COVID was definitely the lowest part of my life, but I also learned some things about myself, and I was able to get into fitness because of COVID. So I guess it wasn't all that bad, but I am one of the people that got COVID in the initial sort of year of this event, this worldwide catastrophe happening. And, you know, that was a very bad experience. I guess I could go into a little story time about that. It's crazy because I think I remember the moment where I kind of caught it. Because I was walking and this guy like sneezed, and I think I was able to visibly like see the, you know, the projectile spit or whatever come from this guy's mouth, come from this guy's mouth, right? And I'm like, okay, I need to like walk away from that so I don't walk directly into it. And lo and behold, the next day, not even the next day, in a couple of hours, I was just sick. And eventually, I go to the hospital, and all of this happened within 48 hours. I go to the hospital, they say, yeah, you have it. Probably the scariest point of my life. I used to think having my dad getting called in and having to deal with him and his wrath when I was being bad at school was scary. But hearing that was probably the scariest point of my life, because it's like this virus was, K-wording people. People were, passing away from this virus. So, yeah, obviously a very scary experience. 120% do not recommend. And yeah, I eventually found out about this program in which they were allowing people to kind of go into Manhattan, and they had these hotels, and I stayed there for a while, and I actually stayed there for 2 weeks. I didn't have my computer, which really sucked. I only had sort of my phone. This is back when I was making videos on TikTok and whatnot, kind of blowing up on that platform, doing videos. And I stayed there. The food was terrible. I couldn't order out. I couldn't do anything. And it was, as a matter of fact, I did order out. I could order out. So that was kind of, something that at least held me. The idea of eating food that I enjoyed. If I'm going to stay somewhere and not have to deal with my dad for 2 weeks and be okay, it was like, all right, this isn't all that bad. I had TikTok to hold me up. And of course, TikTok was booming and blowing up because everybody was at home. So yeah, I eventually stayed there for 2 weeks. And I came back, and then I continued my summer. This was around like when I was like a sophomore. This was me going into sophomore year. So yeah, that happened. And then, it was bad from that point on. Or it was good from that point on, I should say. Not really much else transpired, and it just goes to show, like, these world catastrophes, world epidemics could happen at any time, and it's good to have a sort of safety net or a sort of plan for when these things do happen, especially if you have people depending on you, especially if you have family, friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, whatever. You want to be able to maybe protect them and make sure that they're good. So yeah, COVID was a terrible time. I am praying we do not have something like that again, ever. But like I said before, when it comes to this world, I am by the belief that this world inherently isn't in your favor, because life is sort of a test of how much can we push human beings and Mother Nature and the earth and see how well it could survive. See what it does to sort of recuperate. Even if there's a world catastrophe that eliminates everybody right now, that'd be very unfortunate, but let's say theoretically that happened, maybe the plan is to see how we recuperate and how we get back, And I'm not going to get too far into that, because that goes into obvious talks of religion, but it's an interesting idea that the world is a game, and like any game, there's going to be challenges, there's going to be, unexpected events to happen that you just have to contend and deal with. And really what I'm trying to say is, don't be blind to what's happening in the world right now. There's conspiracies that you can believe in whatever you want, but at least be in the know, at least see things for what they are. Understand that you know nothing as well. Understand that anything could change at any point. Someone you really looked up to can be outed for being sus, being well, I don't want to put it like sus, because, you know, we love everybody on this channel. Not sus in that way, but like just being not the person that you thought they kind of were. At any point, you know, stuff like this can happen, and it happens every day. You know, something happens, someone is outed, someone takes the fall, and then for 10 years people hate that person. And then a documentary comes out and says, nah, that was all a lie, here's the evidence. And everybody's like, we're wrong. Or maybe if you want to get super deep and analytical with it, you could believe that all of that shit was just fake. All of it was just scripted, just so you could take your attention off of that and have your attention on something else, which is sometimes the route that I would like to take. Which is why you should sort of, I think it's a good word of thumb to sort of not be too involved with social media and what everything is happening, because social media is just an emotional farm. People farm you for whatever means. Like, you're the product. Understand that. In social media, you're the product. You might be buying product, but you're the main one that is being marketed for. And what you're spending, other than your money, is your time and attention and your emotions. That's how people win elections. That's how people sway overall sentiment on different ethnic groups and parties and whatnot. You're the product at the end of the day. Once you understand that, you'll have a better view, an overall more cleaner and authentic view on social media. And you don't have to go into every situation and be like, this person might be on to something. You'll go into every situation and be like, you know what? He's saying something. It might be true. It might be not. Unless it really matters to me, let me align my focus to something else that's going to make my life better, or make my life, you know, a little bit more bearable. Because attention and time are the ultimate currencies. Time, I should say. Time is the most valuable currency. If a person was immortal, they'll eventually, even if they work a dead-end job like, you know, some people work, like, they'll eventually become a billionaire if you're immortal. But the person that's already a billionaire ain't gonna make more than $1 billion if he has an expiration date, you know? Time is the ultimate currency, not money. In time, you'll make all the money you want, but not everybody has time. Some people more than others. And just to talk, just to be real, like, life is interesting right now, man. I don't really know what's going on. I'm kind of just going with the flow. I have obvious plans, but I was thinking the other day, like, what is it all for? What is purpose? Is purpose a fruitless endeavor, or is it something that we kind of have to align with to sort of be sane? So my purpose, I feel like, is to just talk about things. I've always wanted to talk about the music I'm interested in, because music, when I was growing up, music and YouTube really, when I grew up, or was growing up, was the thing that kind of saved me from being outside and doing all type of stupid shit. Stupid shit was still done, but it was done a lot more or less compared to people that just had all the time in the world to be outside with friends and getting into all type of disputes with people, places, and things that they really shouldn't have been. And I've always wanted to just talk about things, music, dance, sometimes conspiracies, what this world is really about, why we're really here. Like, these things should be talked about. Because what's the ladder? Like, what's the next thing that I'm supposed to do? If not, you know, talking about things that we're interested in and things that we love, then what is the point of life? We simply just don't make money, retire, and then just sit in a chair for the rest of our lives. Like this, there has to be something more. And I feel like having goals and ambitions, no matter how short term or long term they are, will always be something that tethers you to this world. You have to have a sort of emotional tether to whatever you're doing within this world, because that's ultimately gonna decide whether you lived a good life or not. Because people are like, I don't want to be a slave for a job and work for the rest of my life. But some people really do just like working. They see peace within it. Even this, what I'm doing right now, I see peace within this. I don't think I've had a bad experience for the past couple of years working here and working at my last job, because I wasn't making the type of money that I wanted to make. Peace and positive experiences can be anything. If you like the sort of idea of working at a movie theater, but you're like a master popcorn maker and there's an art within it, and you like doing that, why is that guy wrong for staying at that job? If he's making a living, he pays for his bills and he enjoys his weekends, he pays for his family's stuff, like why is he wrong? You know? Who's to say that's not what he wants? Always do what you want to do. Never sort of try to accelerate your life to a point in which you're just making a whole bunch of stupid decisions because someone on the internet told you. And it's so crazy how we always tie it back to social media, because it's a legitimate epidemic of a whole bunch of people that have the lifestyle that most people in this life want, telling other people what they should do with their life, not knowing them through a hole in the wall. Even my videos, like, don't take my videos and be like, well, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, I'm gonna kind of listen to him. No, don't do that. Everything is good in moderation. It's the same thing with advice. Always take what people say with a grain of salt, no matter how good it sounds. Especially when it comes to things like money and health, opportunities, your life path, what you should be doing in this world. Because you don't want to be led astray. That's the one thing you don't want in this life. You don't want to listen to somebody's advice and then it leads you into a situation in which you're not favoring from it. You don't want to be led astray. You want to be on your right path, only your path, nobody else's. And if you don't have a path, you want to at least have the right tools that are good for you, tailored to you, so you can find that path. Always just take the advice and take it with a grain of salt. Nothing is ever law. Kind of the same thing with religion. Like, you can, in my opinion, you can look to religion and follow the advice, but to a certain extent, you kind of have to figure things out on your own too. Like, one of my biggest things is God will never come out from the sky and show him who they are, you know? But they'll give you signs. They'll give you signs through the body, through nature, through how humans act. I think that's what really God is. Nature, you know, people, experiences, sort of the emotional spectrum, feeling. I'm obviously a Christian and, you know, still believe in certain things, but I also think there's things, doctrines and thought processes to learn from other religions that sort of are very plausible and very commendable. Because I have a friend that isn't Christian and has the same beliefs as me, but he still treats me human. He's treated me more human sometimes more than people I'm related to, and more than, you know, people that are of the same religion as me. Maybe that's bad to say, I don't know, but I don't really judge people based off of what they believe in. I judge people based off of their actions and the content of their character. At the end of the day, everybody's gonna have their own belief systems. But ultimately, those belief systems, wow, I just thought of this. Those belief systems only necessitate, they only bring action. And when a person is beating you up, you aren't, you know, seeing their belief systems in real time. You're seeing their actions, you're seeing how they act. So belief systems and thought processes only conclude and display action. Those things are supposed to sort of initiate action, and action is ultimately what we see when we interact with people, what they say, what they do. Those things come as a result of belief systems in your outlook on life. So my rule of thumb is to sort of treat people, not treat people, but look at people not through what they have, what they look like, or what they believe in, but through the content of their character. And that sort of term, content of character, came from a book. I remember this book that I read. This teacher I had in high school. Shout out to the teacher. I forgot her name, but she said, yeah, like, we weren't gonna look at this person's actions within the book by their race, but by the content of their character. And that's something that just has stuck with me basically for most of my life, ever since I took that class. And both the English class with this teacher I had, Mr. Hugh, I was kind of talking about this the other day. Shout out to my middle school, my high school, KIPP Academy, and just the KIPP sort of name within the education sector. If you know anything about that, just tell me in the comments if you've been to a school. But you know, whatever. You know, like, what do I even say from that? Yeah, I was saying, like, the content of the character, like looking at people solely based on their actions and what they do, how they treat people, how they present themselves, rather than what they have or what their race is. And I feel as if when we simply look at people on that surface level, oh, he has nice shoes, oh, he's pretty or she's pretty and is fit and this and that. It's like the fitness industry, for example. Now on social media, now in real life, people look at people that don't have amazing physiques in the fitness sector. They think they're unhealthy, they think they're less than. And let's say that the fit guy that is 10% body weight looks amazing. He's more accepted than the unfit guy that people don't know through a hole in the wall. They just assume that he's a bad person because he doesn't eat well or quote unquote take care of himself. But you never knew that he's like that, because when he was 21 years old, let's say he's 50, he's 21 years old. Wow, I'm dropping everything. When he was 21 years old, he saved a little girl's life from dying, from getting hit by a car. And that prompted him to, that event led to him losing one of his legs, and it makes it hard for him to sort of work out. So he's at a disadvantage. And that's a very extreme example, but examples like that are sort of common within today's sort of world. Not everybody has the same circumstance, socio-economic placement within the world, but we all like to assume, because that's what we're good at doing. We assume. And then topple that with social media preconceived notions. You have an entire part of the world that just looks at each other based on what they have, what they wear. And we make assumptions on those things and judge people as a result of those parameters. And I'm not going to talk too long about this, but to end off the video here, try to practice being more human to other people. I guess sort of the reason as to why I'm so nihilistic and downright not very hopeful for a lot of the things happening in this world and the way it's leading towards is because I felt as if my environment and the places I've surrounded myself with has shown me a lack of humanity, and I'm trying to now return to that essence of love and positivity that I feel as if I should be encompassed in. When I'm talking about humanity, I mean, you know, if you don't have anything nice to say, keep it to yourself. Because I think about mean things all the time, but what distinguishes you from the next person is going to be whether you decide to act on those impulsive and intrusive thoughts. Next, do random acts of kindness for people. I'm not saying go buy somebody a 5-course meal at the 5 Seasons or whatnot. But look people in the eye, remind them that they're human too, that they're being seen. Feel as if so many people in this society feel as if they're invisible. And nobody's invisible. It's just that we've been so altered to think that some people are. Random acts of kindness. Holding the door for a random person. Saying hi. Asking people how their life is going. Unfortunately, in this world, we do have a lot of people that decide they don't want to be here because they feel like they're invisible, and they take up that action, and it's very sad and unfortunate. But if you can be the difference between someone removing themselves from this life, or someone being like, you know what, maybe I'm wilding, I need to chill out, maybe I'm overreacting, then again, we're getting into conversations of you changing the world. These are no strange feats to prevent people from doing unreversible actions. Like, this is what sort of being positive and understanding that there needs to be these sort of people in life is about. Do random acts of kindness. Always stay aware of what's going on in this world. You don't want to be caught lacking with another COVID level event. And yeah, practice humanity. If you're watching this video and you've ever felt like you've been sort of neglected, or you felt invisible, you're not. You do matter. Maybe you just need to align your thinking to be a little bit more positive. I'm of course not a mental health expert by any means. I'm simply a guy that just makes overnight stalking videos and talks about random things. But yeah, as I finish off this shift and go edit this video for you guys to watch and enjoy, just want to say, if you're liking the type of content I'm making, drop a like. Only makes sense. It makes sense, right? You're liking to drop a like. If you want to see more of me, go ahead and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. Let me check off my GoPro so I can actually look at y'all for a second. Give me a second, don't leave. Been working this entire time. I'm not AI, feel me? Wow, still looking good. But yeah, if you're enjoying these videos, let me know. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. It is your boy DRXCO.
and I'm out. Peace.